Self-improvement isn't just aesthetics. It's discipline, mindset, and showing up. No fluff, just real talk. Welcome to another self-love podcast. Let's get into it. What if I told you that becoming her isn't something you check off a list? It's something you live through over and over again. That no matter how many glow-ups you go through, there's always another version of you waiting to be uncovered. This episode isn't about reinventing yourself into someone you're not. It's about evolving, becoming more you every time. It's about peeling back the layers of who you think you have to be and stepping into who you actually are, one season at a time. Because personal growth isn't linear, it's not a final destination, and you don't arrive, you unfold. There have been so many versions of me. The versions of me that was trying to survive the night shift hustle and still wake up early to chase dreams. The version of me that thought being that girl meant constantly doing more, fixing more, achieving more until I burned out. The version of me that used to rely on outside validation to feel ready or enough. And now, the version of me learning that growth isn't loud, it's quiet. It's often unseen. It's not always this huge transformation moment. Sometimes it's small shifts in how you think, how you talk to yourself, and how you respond. I used to think once I hit a goal, everything would feel complete, that I'd feel like I made it. But the truth is, there's always a new level. And it's not about constantly climbing, it's about becoming more aligned. The biggest shift for me was realizing I could evolve without having to hate who I was before. I could be proud of all the versions of me that got me here, even if they were messy, confused, or just figuring it out, because she, the next version of you, doesn't come from self-rejection. She comes from self-respect. Here's something I wish more people talked about. Personal growth isn't a glow-up montage. It's not a before and after reel. It's not this perfect filtered version of you suddenly waking up at 5 a.m., drinking green juice, and feeling unstoppable. It's uncomfortable, it's confusing, and sometimes it's boring. You outgrow things that used to feel like home. You start noticing how certain conversations drain you, how certain habits don't feel like you anymore. In that realization, it doesn't always feel empowering. Sometimes it feels lonely. But this is the part no one glamorizes, because growth doesn't always look like becoming this polished version of yourself. Sometimes it looks like taking a step back. Sometimes it looks like resting instead of pushing. Sometimes it's saying no and disappointing people who were once part of your comfort zone. And I want you to know, evolving doesn't mean you're broken now and fixed later. It means you're brave enough to keep checking in with who you are. Brave enough to ask, does this still serve me? Brave enough to admit that even when it looks like you have it all together, you're still figuring it out. The real transformation happens in the in-between. When no one's watching, when it's not aesthetic, when you're quietly choosing yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you paused and thought, wait, who even am I right now? Not in a dramatic way, but in that quiet, honest moment when you realize you've been changing without even trying to. That's evolution. That's what becoming the next version of you actually looks like. You don't always notice it happening. It doesn't come with a trophy. But one day you react differently to something that used to trigger you. Or you make a choice that your past self would have avoided. That's proof of growth. Here's the analogy I always think about. Think of personal growth like a wardrobe. As you evolve, you start trying on new outfits. Some fit, some don't. Some feel awkward at first, but you wear them anyways because something about it feels right. Eventually, what used to be your favorite hoodie just doesn't feel like you anymore. And that's okay. You don't hate it. You're just not that version of you now. It's the same with habits, friendships, environments. Shedding them doesn't mean you're ungrateful for the past. It means you're honoring who you're becoming. Here's what I've learned through my own evolution. There are seasons where I felt lost in the in-between. Especially when I first got sober, it felt like I was shedding a whole identity. And I didn't know who I was yet. But I kept showing up. I kept learning, reflecting, making mistakes, and forgiving myself for them. Even now, I don't have it all figured out. But I've built this muscle of self-awareness, and that is the compass I keep following. And now I want to ask you something personal. What version of yourself are you outgrowing right now? And what version are you gently stepping into? Write it down, say it out loud, claim it, even if it's messy. Because your evolution doesn't need permission. It just needs you to start choosing it one small decision at a time. So, how do you actually live in this constant evolution without getting overwhelmed or stuck in who you used to be? Here are 3 things that have really helped me. 1, check in with yourself often. This can be a journal prompt, a voice memo, or just sitting quietly with your thoughts. Ask yourself, what's been feeling out of alignment lately? What version of me am I showing up as? Where do I feel myself being pulled to grow next? It doesn't have to be deep every time, but checking in keeps you aware of the shift. 2, accept that evolution often feels awkward. You don't grow into the next version of yourself overnight. It's not glamorous. It can feel lonely. You might doubt yourself or even grieve old parts of you. But that awkward phase, that's where the real magic happens. That's where self-trust is built. If it feels a little uncomfortable right now, that might mean you're doing it right. 3, redefine success as alignment, not perfection. Your glow up isn't always a highlight reel. Sometimes it's boundaries. Sometimes it's a silent win. Sometimes it's saying no when it doesn't feel right, even if it used to. When you start making decisions that feel good inside, that's when you know you're becoming her. A self-affirmation to close out this episode. I am allowed to grow beyond who I've been. I trust the pace of my evolution. I don't need to be perfect to be proud of myself. I just need to keep showing up. That's a wrap on today's episode and on the Becoming That Girl, but for real kickoff series. If you've been here since episode 1, thank you. If this was your first episode, welcome. Either way, I hope something in the series sparked something in you. Because this was never about becoming someone else. It's always been about becoming more of you. And if there's one thing I hope you take with you, it's that growth is never one size fits all. It's messy, it's personal, and it's always evolving. Where will this podcast go next? I'm not entirely sure. But that's kind of the magic of it. Just like you, this space gets to grow, shift, and expand. So stay tuned, stay connected, and most importantly, stay grounded in who you're becoming. If this episode resonated with you, take a second to leave a review, send it to a friend, or message me on Instagram. I'd love to hear what stood out. I'll see you soon.